Have you seen blueprints of how they're going to do it? It's 2 stories.
All right, you guys ready? Ready to go live? All right, let's do it. Go live 10, 9, 8, and here we go. All right, hey everybody, we are live here. Let me turn off this music, and it's going to be a little bit of technical problems at the start because I'm running this all on my own. But we are live, as you notice, here from Social Circle, and we are outside of the Social Circle City Hall, and this is a town that is in the center of it. The drama here is unfolding in real time and has been, and it really has caught the attention of not only people here, but nationally because of what happened this week. And this week in a radical move by city leadership who opposes this proposed ICE megacenter that is expected to be built here in this town of 5,000. In this radical move, the city leadership got together and approved a maneuver that would shut off not just the sewage, but also the water to this proposed site. Now, I mentioned the controversy, and basically it's been going on for the last several months, at least 3 months. Back in December, the Washington Post, they published an article, and it was then that this town of Social Circle found out what was to be coming here. And that was a facility that would house 10,000 migrants, that's families, women, children as well. And it would swell the size of this town to triple. It's a town of 5,000, it would go to 15,000, and they're concerned here about what that would mean, the impact on the resources. Not only that, but the location, where this is proposed to be, this site, a former warehouse owned by P&K Group, which we'll get into in just a little bit, it's right near an elementary school. And you have a very uncomfortable alliance playing out here. You see some of those folks behind me. We'll get into the interviews here in just a second. But what's happening here, these folks, progressives folks, these are the activists who know what's going on in these centers is inhumane. They know that there is no basic medical care or treatment for those that are inside. They know that there's merit when people say that these are equivalent to concentration camps. I used to think that was too strong of a language, but what we have seen and what we have heard and the firsthand testimonies from inside these facilities, it's hard to deny exactly what's happening in there. And so this group behind me, they know what's coming here. They are paired with, though, some unlikely allies and in a very uncomfortable alliance because this town, 70% of them, they voted for President Trump. This is a conservative town in rural Georgia, and it's what you would expect if you're watching this from outside of Georgia. It's a more conservative place, more sort of traditional family values, and there is a pocket here of people who support the president and his immigration policy, even if they don't support the detention center. They bought into this big lie. They bought into the narrative that these are the worst of the worst, that these are the violent offenders, and that these folks that are, going to be proposed to be housed here in Social Circle they belong in Supermax. And so their stance is they don't want their property values to go down. They don't want these violent offenders near a school. They have bought into this lie again, and they have paired up with these allies here who know the truth. They know the reality of what's going on, that these facilities are inhumane, and that's why they don't want them built here. So we're going to get right into it here. You may recognize one face behind me. This is Gareth. Gareth, come on in here. How are you?
I'm doing great. It's beautiful weather today.
Oh my gosh, and we're so excited to have Gareth, and it's actually because of her that this crowd is all here behind me. And you'll meet each one of them one by one. Why don't you guys come closer a little bit so we can all be friendly here. Gareth is, for all intents and purposes, basically the lead activist who's organizing the resistance movement against this proposed ICE mega center. Fill the audience in, those of us that don't know exactly what's going on here, what's been happening.
Well, there have been international press attention. I've been interviewed by folks from France, as well as the United States and Britain. And our little group, which is a minority of a small town and a small rural area, has gotten some international attention. So we're not used to this at all.
It's crazy how big of a deal that this has become. Why here? Why do you think the Trump administration has focused their attention on in the backyard of their supporters? You know, they're angering some of the people that voted him in.
Well, we don't really know why Department of Homeland Security picked the 23 different areas that they did. They picked these warehouses. They went around the United States and found some real estate that was vacant warehouses and decided that they were going to convert them into detention centers. And what we're hoping is that this really ill-conceived plan is halted and abandoned.
Do you have hope? Do you think like what happened this week is a step in the direction of it being shut down?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Wow, that's an adamant yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
We are definitely optimistic that there's a possibility it could completely stall out.
Sorry about that. We're
live.
Yeah, we're live here, and we're getting calls while we're
live and getting calls.
Yeah, live and getting calls here. We'll just ignore that. But you were adamant that this will lead to some change here. You think that actually the city leadership and what they're doing, their maneuvers, because they got pushed back. And you sent me this statement from ICE. ICE was basically like, I forgot I had a microphone. ICE was basically like, yeah, the city leadership, who are they really standing up for? Who are they really, supporting here?
Yeah.
And so what did you make of that statement?
Well, I can't really interpret what the Trump administration is saying, but they asked who the leaders are really standing up for. And the answer is they're standing up for those who elected them. The local city council who hired their city manager are standing up for the people who live in this community. And there's a very limited amount of water and sewer capacity. It can't support the detention center. There's a very limited amount of public and law enforcement capacity. They don't have enough police. They don't have enough ambulances. They don't have enough roads. They don't have enough heavy duty infrastructure to support a tripling overnight of their town. So they're doing what's responsible for their town.
I'm running the show by myself here, and I want to post some video that I'll add it to the stage here while we have this conversation. This is video of the site here that Gareth filmed yesterday. And so what you're looking at here is, what it looks like right now as of yesterday. Tell me a little bit about the video that the audience is looking at here. This is a former warehouse owned by PNK Group. They sold it sort of secretively, from what I understand, and they're not really being forthcoming about who owns it, but you have the deed. We know, and ICE's statement confirms DHS owns this. What do you tell us about this area here that we're looking at?
Well, the U.S. Department of Homeland Security now owns this 1 million square foot warehouse. It's a big empty warehouse. What you're seeing in that video, I kind of took that as kind of a location scouting. Right. You can see two different warehouses. One is across the street and it's in use. And the other is the PNK warehouse, which is now under the name of Logins, which is on the sign. But it is basically a big empty shell. There's nothing inside it. It's 1 million square feet, bigger than multiple football fields. It's just a vast, empty concrete pad with posts holding up a metal roof.
And as you explained to me earlier this week in our interview, this is meant for like an Amazon warehouse for packages and delivery and stuff. It's not meant for people.
No, it was never constructed with the idea of human habitation. Absolutely not.
And so when we look at this video, we'll just play it again. I think it just ended. We'll play it again. We'll loop it. I said in their statement yesterday, look, we have done the assessments. The strain on the resources, it's not going to be that big of a deal. Do you believe that, A, they did this, and B, if they did it, that they're telling the truth? You guys are laughing, snickering in the background here. Yeah.
Well, if they did these assessments, where are they? They provided to the City of Social Circle, which then put onto their website for the world to see a couple of documents that are not accurate. They involve resources that aren't even in this county, that the county doesn't have available for water and sewer. Some of the references in the documents are just completely incorrect. So they did not do an adequate engineering survey. In order to do a real engineering survey, they would have had to talk to the people in Social Circle who run the water and sewer department.
What a novel idea.
And all of this was done secretly without the city knowing anything about it.
I want to get into and talk to some residents here. We'll stop down on this video here. We'll remove that and get back to here. And if you're just joining us live, we're here in Social Circle, surrounded by activists who want to make sure that this proposed ICE mega center is not built. Gary, thank you so much for taking the time with us. I want to talk to this lovely lady here. I'm meeting some of these folks. I spent some time with them earlier this week, but some of them I'm meeting for the first time today. Tell me who you are.
I'm Cindy Goldthwait.
We'll just put it on you so I don't have to hold it. Let's do that this way. Okay.
Okay. I started first grade here.
Yeah.
So I'm 74. I started during segregation.
You started first grade. You went to elementary school.
Right over there.
In Social Circle.
Mm-hmm.
So
and I graduated from Social Circle High School.
If the government should be getting an opinion about this from anyone, it should be someone like you.
That's correct. Although I'm not within the city limits, I do live out near hardly.
Yeah, but it's not like you're saying you're from Atlanta.
I've been here,
you know,
right?
Yeah.
So, and I have a big identity with the infrastructure problem because I'm overseeing my septic tank being repaired this morning. So I can't even begin to imagine what they're thinking about.
What do you think would happen if this facility was actually realized? That happened. Let's say
I think people would move out. I think they wouldn't come here. We're a city school system, and that's one of our draws. And as you've heard, the elementary school is just down, the new one, it's just down from that intersection that Gareth was showing in her video.
Yeah.
So it means school buses are going to go by there. It means that parents are going to have to explain to their kids, you know, why that barbed wire is out there, razor wire is out there. Assume they're going to put that up. I can't imagine
the
how they control it without, right? So that's a concern to me.
That's crazy imagery to think about a school bus driving by and then all of a sudden they go home. I have small kids.
Mm-hmm.
They go home, they have questions every day.
Yeah.
They come home, they ask, what's this in our backyard now? And then that opens it up to a bigger conversation. What are you going to tell your kids about?
I'm going to tell you my big conversations on that school bus that I rode for 12 years. I went by cotton field very close to there where blacks were chopping cotton. And so, you know, it's just part of your daily routine and you kind of absorb that. And it's not that you're basing all of your opinions about race on that, but it sinks in, right?
Sure, it does want something to one's psyche.
Mm-hmm. And so, but that was a long oppression of people. So I know what that does to people as much as a white person can.
Sure.
You know.
We have lawmakers who watch this, influencers. In fact, we were just reached out to. The phone call I was getting was from the press secretary of gubernatorial candidate Jason Estevez, who's running for the Democratic nomination here. If you had somebody who is watching this right now, perhaps they actually are, we don't know, what would you tell lawmakers? What would you tell your representative here, Mike Collins? What would you tell President Trump?
Well, I have told Mike Collins many times that we do not want this here, and please help us.
You've actually spoken directly and looked him in the eye.
I've spoken to, no.
Okay. But use his office.
We don't, yes, to his office. I did speak to a live person finally. I got a lot of, you know, full mailboxes and on all that for a long time. But I did finally speak to one. She said, well, that's already been told. And I said, we need to work on this and let them know that we really don't have the infrastructure and we don't want it here. And so on. As far as President Trump goes, I would say we need to make sure, Mr. President, that we have due process for people. I don't see the need for these huge areas for concentrating people who may or may not have done something wrong, but we don't need to just ship them out without having due process, because that's what we base our society on.
Thank you so much for taking the time. I want to talk to Bill here, if I can get this microphone from you, about Andrei Sarkov. Let me get this microphone from you. Andrei Sarkov, and if you're just joining us, Andrei Sarkov, he's the owner of PNK Group, who sold the warehouse to the Department of Homeland Security. There was an article published. I'm going to talk while I talk about what happened to Sarkov. I'm going to just put that mic on you. The Atlanta Press Collective, and I encourage you guys all to go read this article, they published a report, and one of the first papers to do it, one of the first outlets to do it, about PNK Group and the sort of shady dealings behind the scenes. they had to issue a correction because part of their original report indicated that PNK Group, who sold to the Department of Homeland Security the site where they want to build this ICE mega center, that it was Russian backed or that it was Russian financed. They had to issue a correction. And Andrei Sarkov was up at the top of that report. He made clear that he is no longer a Russian citizen. He also made clear and wanted to make clear that this group no longer is based in Russia or had no longer any Russian ties. We reached out to PNK Group in good faith and to try to get answers to the claims and the allegations that they're making here, to try to get answers to the allegations of the shady business dealings, the secretiveness of all of this. They never got back to us. But among the questions we asked him was why it was so and why he was so insistent to make clear that he's no longer connected to Russia or no longer a Russian citizen, or that this company no longer has any ties to Russia. Bill has some ideas, I'm sure, about this Russian connection and Andrei Sarkov at large. What concerns you about PNK Group?
Well, what mostly concerns me is that they bought this facility for right around $28 million.
That's PNK Group.
PNK Group bought it from local speculators that built it. And then somehow they were able in 2 years to increase the value of this warehouse to over $125 million.
Well, they must have put solar panels and stuff on it. They must have retrofitted it. And,
as Gareth said, it's an empty shell. It's on 183 acres. They plan, I think, I've heard DHS has plans to put 2 more buildings on there. And Social Circle right now is at capacity for both its water and sewage. There are at least 2 neighborhoods in Social Circle where people cannot count on turning on their faucet and getting water.
Wow.
And if the water does come, it's brown. They passed a $65 million bond to increase their sewage, but that's for anticipated normal growth in Social Circle, not overnight or over 2 or 3 months, increasing to 10,000.
What sort of visuals, and imagery do you have if this comes to, reality here? Like, what will happen to Social Circle? What happens to a town here?
Well, Mike Collins said that one of the advantages of this would be we would have 2,500 new jobs. Well, we already can't. We can't.
You're getting a chuckle from the crowd here. I mean, who's going to work, right? Corrections officers? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But that's an additional, because Social Circle, our companies are looking, our stores are looking for staff. So we're going to have to bring in 2,500 people.
You already have a labor shortage here.
Labor shortage,
is most of it people of your generation, mostly retirees? I mean, is there a lot of young people here?
Well, they just built, the new elementary school.
So yes,
it's a typical rural area. I think it's a good mix of demographic. But bringing this detention center, besides the moral reasons not to have it, it's going to change this community dramatically. You just look down the road here and you'll see by that truck there's a gazebo in the middle of the road.
Yeah.
And supposedly that's the Social Circle where people first came together.
It's tiny. It's big. It's not even as big as where this plot of land we're standing on right now. Right.
So
it's cute. It's so cute when you drive through. It's a nice little place.
And it usually gets knocked over by a truck at least once a year. So.
Do you have any concerns? I mentioned right before I interviewed you, started the interview, about this Sarkov guy and maybe his Russian connections. Is that? And that stood out to me as a journalist, honestly.
I thought it was interesting that here we have a Russian company building a detention center in the United States. That just,
the optics are weird.
Yeah, real weird.
Yeah, especially with the criticism.
Thinking of Gulag here.
I was going the other way with President Trump potential connections and what people have. They believe he potentially could be a Russian asset. There's been people who have speculated that. There's no evidence that had been supplied so far, but there is that narrative out there. And then you have this, right?
With a $77 billion budget for ICE.
Yeah.
they're overpaying. You know, I could see maybe selling this warehouse for, 30-40 million dollars, but not 128 million dollars.
Yeah, and if you're just joining us, this is one of the activists here locally who is protesting the building of Social Circle, or this development in Social Circle, which would be a nice mega center. And part of the concern that the residents have here is what Bill is talking about, is that this facility, it was bought a handful of years ago, 3 years ago or so, for $28 million. It was just sold to the Department of Homeland Security for over $100 million. And so how do you increase the value of a property without doing anything to it in just a couple of years? I know that property values do go up, inflation, but $100 million, I mean, that's pretty crazy, right? And so this is part of the process. This is part of the problem here. These are part of the answers that people are, they don't have. They're asking these questions as to why this is happening. Why is the government overpaying? And there is some serious concerns about, potential corruption here. And there has not been this sort of forthcomingness and sort of transparency from the companies involved that are exchanging the money. I want to bring in one of the younger faces here. Bill, thank you so much. Here, let's get that microphone for you. I want to bring in one of the younger faces here because, as I've seen in my coverage, these folks are always out here. They have been through this before. These are like the voices of the 60s and the 70s. They're fighters. You got Juanita over here. She's 85, just off camera. These are the progressive voices of the South, right?
She doesn't look it. She
does not look it. My wife said so as well. You'll meet Juanita in just a little bit. She's amazing. This is one of the younger voices here, and somebody who, you talk to me about this uncomfortable alliance. Yeah, he's good. Introduce yourself and talk to me about what this uncomfortable alliance is.
I'm Henry. I'm a student activist. I go to college on the Georgia State campus that's in Newton County, which is on about 10 more minutes from here. Part of my commute every day is driving past this new facility. So, the developments around it impact my daily life in, like a traffic kind of way. But more importantly, it's one of those things, like, I'm 21. I have time in my life to, care about these kinds of things, and seeing injustice in my community, there's something gross about it.
Do you see others of your peers at 20? Because I hear you say at 21, I have time to care about it. And I was thinking most 21-year-olds don't give a shit. They don't have the time to do anything but care about themselves, right? So, like, what makes you want to care about something bigger than you?
Well, it's the future. If we can normalize these things happening in this country, it doesn't matter if a Democrat gets in charge next. This will be a standard that we can live by in this country, that we are okay with concentration camps in our backyard.
It's normalizing that bus driving by and seeing the Constantine wire,
it's making
the people picking cotton,
It's making violence even more part of our daily lives here. And if there's anything we can do to stop it, we should 100% be doing that.
That's really interesting, Henry, because part of what I hear being out of the country is that it's like this slow attrition of getting people normal to the fatigues on the streets, the people with long guns on the streets, so that when it comes to our election, when it comes to the midterms or the general, that we won't really make a big deal about seeing people in long guns and fatigues walking around. And some could say that is an aspect of voter suppression. That is people being intimidated, right? I was just in D.C. You're seeing National Guardsmen and women walking and doing the whole military, thing down the block where they turn around and, it's so bizarre. And so that is something that's landing on you. You're talking about this normalization of it. What are your friends saying? Do they think?
I have people that come from a Hispanic background, that come from an immigrant background, that are scared to come out and be active and be vocal about these things, even though, one small person, in the grand scheme of things won't be noticed. They're afraid that their family will get deported, or that, there will be violence against them from others that live in these communities. It's talking about DC, like that sort of thing isn't here yet.
Yeah.
But it could very well happen if we allow our town to be militarized like campus.
There's a runway for sure.
Yeah.
Come on in here. We're getting spaced out. You guys want to come in here? So Juanita can get in the camera here a little bit too as well. Come on, Gareth. Just come on in. One of the things, and if you guys are just joining us, I'm going to keep resetting here because I'm doing this all on my own. No earpiece. You're joining us here live in Social Circle, and these are the activists that are trying to stop this ICE mega center from being built here that would triple the size of this town, strain the resources, and there are some unlikely allies coming together, including people who supported the president who don't want this to happen. We're joined now by one of the younger activists here, 21-year-old Henry. He goes to school out here in one of the satellite campuses for Georgia State. I'd love to ask you this because there is some big concern among Democrats and more progressive voices that the youth really, they are enamored by President Trump, and conservatives, the manosphere, people like Sneeko, people like, Neon,
Andrew Tate,
Andrew Tate,
yeah.
All of those guys, Theo Vaughn is not really in there, but like Andrew Schultz, they are inspired by these folks. In fact, those folks endorsed President Trump.
It's a fascination with spectacle.
It's a fascination with spectacle.
There's something that the Democratic Party has known for years, is that there isn't a Andrew Tate of the left. There isn't, you have like Hassan, but he's not big enough to be that. There isn't.
We have Hassan Piker, Mehdi Hassan. There's Aaron Parnas.
But there isn't that almost cottage industry around them that exists, and so there almost isn't a way, a pipeline almost, if you will, for young men to get interested and into left-wing activism and vocalizing their feelings in a way that is productive to society and not just to their own ego.
What's the remedy then for those that are, wanting to see an outlet, or, yes, there is Hassan Piker, but he gets thrown. I mean, they say he's anti-Semite, right? I mean, they try to bring him down. What's the remedy then to get more people involved? I mean, you're 1, 2, 8, 6, this is a microcosm.
Yeah. Compassion. I think just being able, being on the internet. I grew up the exact same way, just video games and Twitter all day for like 10 years of my life. And it's just one of those things where you forget that the outside world exists until it's suddenly knocking on your door. Like I grew up in Atlanta and I moved out to Monroe, which is about 15 minutes that way.
Yeah.
And, never once in my 6 years living out here did I think, oh God, there's going to be a concentration camp. But it just stumbles upon you, and you have to pull yourself out of these ideas of what the real world is from just the internet, and you have to find compassion for actual real people that are suffering next door.
I'm not asking you to bait you, but I want to hear you in your own words, because you just said concentration camp. You heard me at the top of the show. I used to pause at that. I hear concentration camps, and I think gas chambers. I think, death camps, right? I went into Camp East Montana about 3 weeks ago, which is the largest detention center in the country. And it was because of my reporting that a measles outbreak was diagnosed. They had been dealing with measles for 4 months. They just diagnosed it because of what I did and came out, right? This is not to brag about what we did. It's just I was able to get in and say what happened. When I was in there, we'll pause here because we just have this ambulance going by. We're in Social Circle, guys, here talking about the ICE Mega Center. And I reported about this, and I've already said this to my followers. It felt to me like a POW camp. It was new material, all white, but it was put up in the cheapest, fastest way, clearly. And there was nothing. It was so void of any sort of happiness or color that psychologically the impact, the guards were talking about it, saying they were trying to convince their supervisors to be able to hang some sort of pictures of the beach so that they could mentally take a break somewhere. To land the plane on this, why are you so adamant that these are concentration camps?
It doesn't have to look like Dachau to be one. For 100 years, we've had these images of the Holocaust and things that happen in the global South across authoritarian regimes, and we see that these are what concentration camps look like. But now that we have them in our own backyard, we are trying all these different ways to find out, oh well, it's not really that because it doesn't meet these criteria. But for us, for the people of this country, whether they're here illegally or not, these are concentration camps. There are people dying in these facilities every day. And, whether or not it's a genocide, it's still concentration. Measles outbreak.
Yeah, they're being concentrated. They're not giving basic medical care. The food they get is subpar. It can't even be really considered nutrition. They can't eat after 5 o'clock. They're given a tortilla. They were saving their milk and a banana, and they started going in and doing random sweeps. They say for basic medical care, if you need something, rub this ointment on your measles or deport yourself and you'll get the care that you need.
I've seen
These
photos,
are all first-hand stories.
I've seen photos coming out of these facilities where it's boxes of food that's labeled not for human consumption. We have these things that you wouldn't treat a dog like this. These are just people, and this administration is brainwashing, people who don't know any better into thinking that this is a just thing to do, and it's not.
My final question on that point, the Uncomfortable Alliance, you have probably interacted or intersected with people that you do not fundamentally agree with politically, but you may intersect on this issue. What are those conversations like, and what do you tell somebody who's watching right now who may support this?
At the end of the day, there are Republicans that I live right next door to, and very visibly they don't agree with me on many things.
This is Flair. This is what they were talking about.
Yeah. They don't, they don't agree. It's very off-putting to people, especially like walking into a small town grocery store in rural Georgia with this.
Sure.
But
Come around.
exactly. But you talk to people and you find that there is a large group of people in this community in Walton County, in Newton County, Oconee, all of the surrounding areas of Social Circle that are against this facility, whether they're on the right or the left. So the way that I've found to bridge the gap is to find that core topic that, okay, we both disagree with this thing existing. How can we come together to actually
you can't see him on camera. See, there we go. Thank you. Couldn't see him on camera. There we go. Henry, we got him. You were showing up in the vertical, but not, or in the horizontal, but not in the vertical. Thanks, Rach. That was my wife just texting me. Henry, any last words? Anything that I haven't asked you that you think is important to know that you'd like to talk about? Because I'm going to go from the young to the matriarch here. Juanita is next. You're in for a treat. We were at her house earlier this week. She lives in a home from the 1840s. It was involved in the Civil War, and it's where this group meets every other Wednesday to strategize about how to stop it. She's up next. Final question for you. Anything I haven't asked you think is important to know? Anything that you'd like to tell the people?
I want the people that are in charge more broadly, Mike Collins, and people that are in the state that have the ability to do something about it. I want them to grow a backbone and realize that, acquiescing to this administration isn't going to get us anywhere, and it's going to kill people.
People have already died in several of these centers. Henry, thank you so much for
sure.
taking the time. I'm going to snap this off, and we're going to come on in here. Juanita, you ready to talk? You got a fan club. They're all here for you. Let's put you right here. We'll put you right here. And we're going to put this here. And she was having some
check out her t-shirt.
Some congestion problems earlier. Let's see her t-shirt here. You got to get a little closer here so people can see it. That's the blueprint of the facility there.
Yep.
1.2 million square
Bigger than 5
feet.
football fields.
20 football fields, it says.
2 stories.
Yeah, 2 stories. That's the blueprint. When I met her, she was wearing a shirt that said Aunt Tifa. Okay, we got to get in here so we could all see. Let's stand right here, and we'll square up to me like that. There we go. Okay, and you're in the frame now. Just go like that. There we go. So Juanita, what makes you be so involved at the age you are? You should be resting. Probably people think that are watching you. Why are you so involved and active?
Because I have 2 daughters and 2 grandsons, and my grandsons are in their 20s, and they're just starting out in life, and we're giving them a hell of a place to start.
Wow. What makes you want to use your free time like this and sort of go against the tide in a community that is basically voting against your interests?
Right. Yeah, that's been the case most of my life. I've always gone against the flow. So this is not really anything new. I'm very lucky to have found like-minded people that are going with me, but I'm not afraid to go against the flow.
One of the criticisms that we hear from the movement is that there's a lot of people that may not be actively involved or maybe on the sidelines and reluctant to step up because they don't see how this impacts them. What would you tell those folks?
Well, again, if they're older people, maybe it won't impact them. It probably won't impact me that much, to be honest. I mean, I have Social Security. I have a good retirement. I mean, I could sit in my chair and not do anything and let everything happen. But I care about those coming behind me. And that's what makes me active.
Looking here at this crowd, we still have a couple of them to talk to. You guys do not look like anyone who would potentially be put in this facility, the blueprint that you're wearing here, right? There's probably not many. I mean, I'm sure, there's people from all over, but there's probably, speaking in broad strokes, not a lot of blonde hair, blue-eyed people in these facilities. Right. What makes you want to be an ally?
I think I mentioned this the other day, but I've always been for the underdog. I've always had a deep caring for people that don't get a fair shake in life, whether they be LGBTQ people, whether they be brown or black people. I know it's a cliche, but I've always had lots of friends that are people of color, and sometimes I'm the only one that has had those friends, even back in high school and college.
You got a Jimmy Carter thing going on that you just right.
Probably, but
well, I mean, I just think President Carter was always like, he just wanted people to be exactly who they were in front of him. He didn't care who you were. He just wanted you to be yourself.
And he's one of the people that I have most admired in the world is Jimmy Carter. Yes.
What do you think Mr. Carter would say about this facility here and people like you fighting?
Well, I think he'd be proud of all of us that are fighting, but Jimmy Carter would. I mean, it would break his heart to know this was happening. There's just no question about it. He's one of the most genuine people that I've ever met. I had the privilege of meeting him 3 or 4 times, and certainly a caring person that would have spoken out against this.
God, I mean, it's almost like he's at more peace now because he doesn't have to see all this stuff. I mean, I think of my Uncle Dave, who inspired me, Dave Swarner, to go into journalism, and he passed away right before Trump took office. And honestly, for our family, it's kind of a silver lining because he was so politically involved that we know that he would just be devastated to see what our country has turned into. You in your 85 years have seen a lot of hope, a lot of fear.
We had some good years. When Obama was in, I thought we had turned the corner. I really, really thought that we had done it. We had pushed past the racism, and then little did we know that this was going to happen.
It's almost like it made people double down on where they felt, because they now felt like, oh my gosh, they are winning. They are getting traction. We need to step up and be more loud and vocal in our ways. But to that question, 85 years, you've seen a lot. Where do you put this in the perspective of your life?
Well, this is by far the worst I have ever seen in my, that I remember all the way back to childhood.
I mean, you're talking about the 60s, you're talking about Nixon, you're talking about
I was
Agent Orange.
I was a protester in the 60s, so it's worse than that to me. We had more hope, I think, and that bothers me that I find myself sometimes making sure that I still have some hope, because it's almost hopeless. Sometimes it feels that way.
It's got to feel hopeless, but here you are fighting, and you see somebody who's 21 behind you, and then your friends, your peers here who are standing up. The last question I have for you is, and I know what you're going to say, but I want the people to hear it anyway. Here, let me put the light on you. If President Trump was standing right here instead of me,
I'd leave.
Mike would leave. I know some of y'all would leave
too.
Juanita, you'd leave?
No, I would not. I would not have the courtesy of speaking to him. I have absolutely no respect for the man. I think he's evil. If there is an evil in the world, he is evil incarnate, and I would not speak to him.
And yet you have people who are so adamant that he was divinely chosen, and that he is.
I'm not of that group.
Why do you think people? I mean, like, it's.
I don't understand it. I've given up on that, and my daughters suggested a book to me which had a philosophy called "Let Them." And
Melanie Robbins, Let Them.
Robbins, yes. I read the book. I've given it to some other people, and I'm just letting people do their thing and adore this horrible, evil man. Let them, because I can't do anything about it, but I can do something about how I feel and what I do.
It's such a gift to have you here. If you could just come here, stand in the middle, and just speak directly to the camera. If you just have a message for the people watching, those that are listening here, and maybe inspired by seeing somebody of your generation here active and speaking out.
Be out on the streets on March 28th for our No Kings.
And go vote. Amen. That was Juanita. Thank you so much, Juanita. I'm going to steal the microphone from you. We've got a profile coming up on Juanita. We wanted it available for this show, but we just didn't have enough time. Who hasn't spoke yet? Mike, we got these three. You want to come in here? We're stealing so much time. We're coming up on 40 minutes here. We can interview both of you guys or you guys together. You want to come in here on this side? Here? Come on in here, and we can just, if you guys want to get right here so we could see you in the vertical, and I could just stand off camera. It's no big deal. We'll just do that. Mike, want to introduce yourself? We'll start with you here. Tell me a little bit about why you're involved.
Well, I'm involved.
Come on in here. Step
I
right in
live. My address is Social Circle, although I live outside of the city, and I've got grandchildren, and I know that I don't want this to happen, and it really bothers me that amount of money was spent on something like this, and I'm concerned about the entire country. There's other facilities. This is not the only one. This is a mega facility.
Oh, it's like one of like 20 something being proposed to be built, brand new.
They got all these smaller satellite facilities. They're going to bring those prisoners and put them here. I don't mean prisoners, but
they're people.
Yeah, they're people.
Pretrial detainees.
Exactly. And we've been lied to. We've been lied to since Trump became president for the first time. And I'm tired of it. I'm just really sick of this. I would like to see everything get back to normal, but I don't think it ever will. It's going to take years and years, and probably not in my lifetime, for sure.
Do you feel the same way? Do you think that because some of the pushback I get is like, we're not making a difference. And I think that this is, I have a microphone. This is my weapon, this platform here that I have to be able to record the record, right? And just to have a record for future generations. And so we could remedy this. Do you feel sometimes that this is just like kind of treading water?
It's treading water, but we still have to tread. Okay, we have to cross the lake, so to speak.
Yeah.
But I started getting really involved in going to rallies and protests and joined ESM, for East Metro for Social Justice. And I knew the day I saw Trump go down the escalator in Trump Tower that, I'm not going to say.
No, you can. You can cuss on
OMG.
Independent. You say, "Oh no, fuck you, shit." You can say all that here.
Fuck you, Trump.
Yeah.
Okay.
Whoa, I like that. Yeah.
But we have to show up, stand up, speak out, and we have to vote, and we have to encourage people to vote. That people are too lazy, they're too busy watching television or something. Yeah. It's critical because what's at stake right here is our democracy.
Do you worry that we're not going to have midterm? I mean, I don't. I think initially I was like, okay, maybe we won't. They're getting ready for this voter suppression. But I think there's too many Republicans that are trying to level up in their offices for them not to. Yeah. What do you think? That's my opinion. What do you think?
Well, it occurs to me. It keeps me awake at night. All night long. I'm thinking about clever things to say about ICE. And I think, we are a militarized country right now. We're militarized on the streets.
We're occupied.
We are occupied, and then if you look at these detention centers, okay, to me, living in a dog pound is probably better than, but we got people that disappear. They go to these detention centers, some of them, a lot of them die. Okay, the cruelty, that I can't wrap my head around the cruelty
is the point.
See, and the lies coming out of the White House, the entire regime there. We got to do something. I'm not giving up. None of us are going to give up, but we're going to fight. I would just encourage anybody watching this right now. We're a small group right here. If you've been to the rally
it's 600 on March 8th.
Yeah, we were all there. But
I saw the video.
Yeah, so there is a movement here, and we have to move. We have to push.
Absolutely.
And we have to be our better selves. Everybody, how could I don't understand these people that think that. the despicable ones, the worst of the worst. The worst of the worst is on Pennsylvania Avenue. Okay,
Deplorable.
deplorable.
Mm.
It is really,
It's really
and I'm mad as hell, and I'm not taking it anymore.
That's it. Network news. I love it. Come on in here. What's your assessment on all this and how it's been, the strain of the people? You're fighting. You're out here taking
yeah.
your time.
And it's so frustrating because, you know, even my family and some friends will say, what are you doing going to these, you know, rallies and all that? Isn't that too dangerous? And it's like, no, I'm standing up for the people that can't stand up, you know, or the people that have to work and can't get out and do these things. So I'm speaking for them, but I'm also speaking up for my friends and neighbors. You know, I live among the immigrants, you know, and they are not all criminals and murderers. And so we portrayed this picture that is not true. You know, the majority of the people that are getting incarcerated are not even wanted for a crime. You know what they're guilty of? Wanting to be an American.
You're more likely to be the victim of a crime as an undocumented immigrant than you are to commit a crime. What I love about you is that you have a law enforcement background and a perspective, and you're still standing up for, you know, I mean, you would think, oh, law enforcement's on the side of ICE. They've been accused in these 287G programs.
And a lot of the military also are not on the side of ICE. So there's a lot of underlying currents. Well, my minister is a National Guard person, and she goes, you know, periodically, and I talk to her on a regular basis, and she just drops her head and she says, Julia, you know, we can't even believe it. So, you know, they give an oath. If you repeat that oath, there's no way that they would be out in the streets arresting immigrants, you know, and especially with no proof of any you know, that they're not committing crimes the way it's being treated. You know, it's just, I get so angry.
I know, I do too.
Because it's just, you know, if they were giving people a fair shot, and the people that came here that actually went through all the steps, they're taking them too.
Yeah.
Well, why not make a reform where we can actually let them complete?
You know, what's happening is they end up telling on themselves when they try to adjust their status, you know, when they marry a citizen and they try to adjust their status. It just happened to a friend's wife of mine. I have heard countless stories of people who have changed their address and moved, notified the government they were doing that, and because they were doing it the right way, they made it easy to get picked up. You know, it's just
like
incredible.
That's why facial recognition is so important. I mean, none of us can hide from anything.
No.
You know, so they'll do that, and if you've got any sort of ID, they can come up and say, "Oh, another Gonzalez. Let's go out to their house."
I mean, that's my point to all of this, is that you have these infrastructures being built, this private prison infrastructure expanding all across the country, 10,000 beds here, 7,000 beds there. Do you think that they're going to stop at the undocumented? Do you think that the people who own these companies want to keep them full, or they're okay with having them empty? We know in our investigations that these beds and these individuals, it is $900 to $1,100 per day, per person, per bed to keep them full, which is why you hear stories of people who are offering voluntary deportation and still being held in these facilities because someone makes money. And that's what's coming here. That's what they want to come here.
And let's be clear, these warehouses were speculative because Amazon announced that they were coming and they were going to pick all these different locations. So these were to provide jobs for local rural communities, and they were going to be logistics centers, and they were going to be supply centers to make things run more efficiently. So this is not helping the cause at all.
I mean, talk about that. I mean, Social Circle being impacted lives.
I mean, they're right off of I-20.
We're going to build jobs here and bring warehouses and you know, make this sort of Atlanta, you know, sending things everywhere.
Yeah.
And instead you want to bring people here and treat them like they're animals.
So that is absolutely why we are so against it, because not only from an infrastructure standpoint, but from a human standpoint.
Yeah.
You've just cut Social Circle off at the knees for any additional jobs, because you know what? I wouldn't bring my business here if I had this incarceration center.
No, and it's so lovely. It's like really quaint.
Yeah,
you know, if you wanted to film a Hollywood movie about rural South town, you know, it's that's it.
Well, you can film a horror movie now because you've got the detention center, and you can just take the cameras through and show the mistreatment of all the immigrants.
I mean, I'm laughing. It's not funny, but you're very
I'd like to say,
Mike.
Come on in here so they can see it. Mike Collins is the representative for this district.
We saw some signs supporting him on the way. You got to stand right here. So
just as we leave here, we're going to go into Monroe, and we're going to be standing out front of his office.
I love it.
And we're going to be protesting that. He doesn't care. I feel he doesn't care.
No, he doesn't.
He's probably got re-election locked up.
Exactly, like Juanita, you know, the matriarch over there. Like she said, he doesn't give a shit. Anyway, man.
Well, we were so grateful to come here live. You know, we had a live show here from Social Circle. Gareth, we'd love to give you the final words. And what I love about Gareth is she is not somebody who's going to let the American flag be, commandeered by the right. She's got her lanyard, American flag lanyard. I think when I saw you, did you have an American flag shirt or something?
I've always got red, white, and blue around.
I love it. You're
think
doing this because you love the country, not
I
because
do.
you hate it. You love.
I believe in
You
America.
believe in America.
There's some very strange memes out there that say progressives hate America, that Democrats want to destroy America. I don't get it. I don't get it at all because
Come on in here
I
so we
love
can all
my
see you guys.
country.
You guys just
I
rally
love
behind
these
here.
people.
Get behind you here so they can see you in the vertical
I
here.
love these people. These are my peeps. These are the people I go to be with, to restore my spirit. And political activism, I have a lot of people who think I'm being paid to do this, but I do this because
God, I wish.
we're all laughing. None of us are paid for this.
No paid protesters here.
I just qualified for Medicare. I just enrolled in Medicare, but I am not taking Social Circle retirement because I love working. I work to support myself economically, and I also love activism, and I do it as a volunteer. So nobody is paying me to do this. Nobody is paying any of us. All the people who were at the big rally that we had on March 8th, where we had 600 people turn out, they were not paid to be there. We are here because we love our country. We love what it means to us. And we want it to be its best. We don't want these
Amen.
horror shows going on.
Well, we have to give you your flowers for being on the front lines of this and for leading the charge. You know, we give so much to Juanita here just for being the matriarch, but Gareth, you are really front and center. You're leading the way, and God bless you. Thank you so much for just for taking the time and for introducing me to your friends, and keep up the fight. You know, I know that this country struggles from a disease of individualism, and unless you are impacted by it, you don't care. But you are showing that you can care, even though you're not directly impacted by it. But you are. You know the reality is sooner or later we're all going to have to step up in our own way.
Yeah. Everyone's affected.
Everyone's affected.
I believe that we need to go from just thinking about ourselves as our own little selves, and we need to widen our understanding of who we are. Kind of like Cindy. Is Cindy still here? Cindy was going to work and going by those fields where people were picking cotton.
No, I was in school.
When you were in
On the
school.
bus, yes.
When you were in school. And
We
your
don't want
sense
those.
your sense of who we are and who belongs to us, it got bigger, and that's what we're about.
And that's what the civil rights movement was about, which was marched right down there by that pink building.
1970.
I was about 11, 12. So
It wasn't that long ago. You know, that's what's stunning to me.
No, it really wasn't.
I try to protect my children from what I'm seeing because I think we only get one childhood. And my daughter, who's 7, she said to her little brother, "Daddy is using his voice like Dr. King." And I said, "Don't tell people that I'm Dr. King, right?" But like, we are all using our voice. She's 7. Oh, she goes to a great school. Thank you guys.
Yeah,
Thank you so
thank
much.
you.
These are the folks on the front line here. And if you're joining us and you joined us throughout the day, throughout this hour, we've broadcasted here from Social Circle, Georgia, where if these folks behind us have anything to say about it, the ICE Mega Center will not go forward. But that's what the storyline is here. And this week, the city leadership decided they're going to play hardball, and they did a radical thing. They cut off sewage and they cut off water to this site that is now owned by the Department of Homeland Security. ICE, they're critical of this town, a town that is 70% voted for Donald Trump. But they say, who are you standing up for if you're doing these things? There's been a lot that's been done in the dark, a lot that's been done in secret, a lot of things that people want to know the answers to. But one thing is clear, the folks behind me here have teamed up together to make sure that this center is not built here and that there is not another example of what they are calling a concentration camp in their backyard. Thank you guys for joining us here. As always, thanks for the support, helping us make truth go viral. And as always, guys, have a great day on purpose. See you later, everybody.
Great job, Nick.
Should have thrown in a little advertisement.
Oh yeah, hey, the only way that we can keep this going is if you could like share, support the QR code, support us, support me, help me keep doing this stuff. Bye everybody, take care. What a lovely show.